Hello boys and girls. Today we're going to talk about measuring angles. We know that angles can look very different. There's a smaller angle. There's what we know as a right angle. We know there's big angles. The small angles have a name called acute. These angles are called right. And these large angles are called obtuse angles. Let's start with what we know as the right angle. The right angle has a perfect little box in the inside because the line that goes over to the side is completely straight with the line that goes up on the side of the box. If I draw a straight line, and a line that's perpendicular or straight up from that, if that were perfect, I'm doing this with my finger, we would have a perfect box here and a perfect box here. So this and this would be right angles. Now we've talked a lot about that. Today's lesson focuses mostly on measuring angles. Measuring angles involves using a tool called a protractor. A protractor. I downloaded an image on the website that shows you that you can print off and cut out. A protractor has numbers across the top here that help us measure how big an angle is. So let's say that there is an angle right here. The angle is a right angle for our first example. Perfectly square, perpendicular, top and the side line. Now, what we would do is we would pick up our protractor and lay the bottom side of the protractor, this side right here, with the bottom of this. If I pick up a protractor and I set it on the bottom and I line that bottom line up with the protractor and the angle, it will measure up to a number on the top here of the protractor. That number, if it's a perfect right angle, is going to measure at 90 degrees. All right angles are 90 degrees. So for example, you might also see an upside down right angle. That angle is also measured at 90 degrees. Other right angles we've seen look like this. That's also 90 degrees. In the upside down right angle example, the protractor would lay like this, upside down. And still you would see that the line from the top of, or this side of the angle, comes to a number right here. This number measures the perfectly right angle as 90 degrees. Try it yourself with a right angle, measuring to see if you can find where on the protractor it says 90 degrees. So, were you able to find it? Now, a protractor has a lot more numbers than just 90. That's because angles can be many different sizes. If an angle, let's use an example of one with a vertex here, again lining up the bottom with the protractor, and we draw a line right there. To find out how big the angle is, I would need to look at what number is at the top that lines up. Imagine this line to keep going and to see what number is at the top of the protractor. In this example, we might say that this is about a 60-degree angle. So we would write 60 degrees. So it's a 60-degree angle. Now imagine that there's just a line here and it's asking you measure the angle. Well, the angle they're asking you to measure is the angle from this line all the way to this line, or this line all the way to there. You would have to set your protractor so that the bottom line of the protractor is aligned with that part of the angle. The protractor then comes all the way to the top, just like that. Now with all of the numbers, if that's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, because we know that 90 is at the very top, right there, this is exactly the middle at 90 degrees. Now if you know that this side over here is 90 degrees and this line is exactly straight, can you guess about how many degrees this side is? Remember, this is exactly the same as this. Well, thinking about it, that's a right angle, and this is a right angle. So there is 90 degrees, and this is 90 degrees. So the straight red line angle that it gave us at the very beginning is actually 90 plus 90, and the line is 180 degrees. This is the last example we're going to look at. In this example, remember that you have to line up the bottom of the protractor with the bottom line of the angle. The numbers on the protractor will tell you what degree that angle is. I hope this helps.